Is it over 4th of July? All right. Oh, man. All right. Well, good to see everyone. I just got back from speaking at a church this morning. The Korean Yongsan Presbyterian Church, KYSPC. And their pastor will be speaking for us next week. We're gone in Ecuador. He asked if I could speak for him today. So when we then spoke, you wanted me to speak about a little bit about missions and how missions, because I think their church haven't gone on a mission trip yet. And he knew about us because although we're a small church, we go on a lot of mission trips. And I told him that as a church, it's good that we take time to do missions because I really do believe that any church, to be a healthy church, is a church to go on missions and be really mission-oriented, very mission-minded. So today I'm just going to give you the sermon that I spoke over there. That way I don't have to prepare too. So when I come back from Ecuador, which will be 2 weeks later, we'll go ahead and resume 1 John. But today I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about missions. And like I said, we've all been on missions, and most of us here that are sitting in the room right now have been to missions. Maybe it was your first time, maybe you've done lots of times. But wherever it is, or if you haven't gone to a mission yet and you would like to, hopefully that today, the sermon today will just give you an encouragement about missions. And there's an article that I read the other day. It's pretty fascinating. Well, not fascinating, but it's kind of one of these things that you have to. I was reading and I was like, what is this guy saying? But then at the end, I'm like, oh, okay, I see what he's trying to do. Because this guy was a missionary. He's a missionary himself. His name is David Armstrong. And he wrote this article. And he goes, 7 reasons why you should never, ever go on a short-term mission trip. This is the article. I said, what is this? He goes, number 1, it will distort your perception of the world. Seeing it through the plastic lens of our society is sufficient. They may be distorted, but you are used to them. Don't needlessly mess yourself up. So he basically says, when you go to a mission trip, it will distort your perception. Right? Don't go to mission trips. It will mess you up. Right? Number 2, he says, you'll get sick or robbed. Right? He's saying it's dangerous out there. Some places have crime rate that is almost as high as any inner cities. Right? So he's saying, when you go on a short-term mission trip, there's danger everywhere. Right? So don't go. Save yourself from that danger. Number 3 is it will make you harder to live with. Right? The way you view life and even your likes and dislikes are liable to change. Your friends and family probably won't understand or appreciate your sudden changes. So what he's saying is when you go to a mission trip, there's a danger for you to change and people won't accept you for who you are when you come back. Number 4 is afterwards you will feel extremely awkward. Right? Number 5 says you will experience sadness because you will experience sadness that you haven't felt before. Right? Number 6 says you might lead someone to the Lord. And number 7 says that you could feel a pull toward going overseas again. Obviously, you understand what he's trying to say, right? Yeah. So he was writing to say that all these perceptions that people have of going on a short-term mission trip is bogus. A lot of people think that it's so dangerous. There's so many bad things that happen on the trip. There's so many things going on. And sometimes it clouds your mind. Sometimes it hinders you from going to a mission trip. It hinders you from taking that step of faith and taking that step to do and go somewhere that's uncomfortable. To go somewhere that you've never been before, to get out of your comfort zone. A lot of us been here for many years, and we're used to just our settings. So when a mission trip comes up, or when our church has the opportunity to go on a trip overseas, sometimes many of us, or some of us, are hesitant to take that jump and take that lead and say, okay, I want to go. That's sort of like, although this is the mission oriented, but it's sort of like when God, in the Old Testament, he was looking for a prophet to spread his judgment, to go around the cities and cities to proclaim the judgment of the Lord. And he was looking around, and he found no one. right? And this is what Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 31 said. This is what he says. He goes, I searched for a man among them who should build up the wall and stand in the gap before me and for the land, that I should not destroy it. But I found no one. But then we see here in Isaiah, when the Lord was looking around, who shall go before me? Whom shall I send? The prophet Isaiah said, Lord, here am I, send me. And when you think about that Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8, the words of Isaiah, he says, Lord, here am I, send me. Those words are words of volunteerism. Like, he voluntarily gave his life to the Lord. It wasn't it wasn't a circumstance, it wasn't any type of financial problems. There's nothing that hindered Isaiah to say these words. His circumstances didn't drive him to say this word. It was clearly because he was a child of God. Clearly it's because he knew the importance of Jesus Christ. So he said in his life, he says, I don't care what's going on in my life right now. I don't care if I die. I don't care what's going on. Lord, here am I, send me. I'm your vessel. I am your tool. Use me as you please. Use me. Use me. And I wonder, not just mission-oriented, but is that evident in your own life with everything that's going on? Do you really say, Lord, here am I, send me? Lord, use me as you wish. I'm ready to call upon. I'm ready to do the things that you called me to do. And are you ready? Do you have that zeal? Do you have that passion about you? You say, Lord, I know that one of these days something's going to happen, and I want to be ready, and I want to be used. Lord, here am I. I really believe that the Lord, through generations and generations, are looking for those people, looking for those few to be used in a mighty way. Why not our church? Why not our church could be that generation? Why not church, the people in it, be fired up and say, Lord, here we are. Use us. Send us. But then we all need to be ready. We all need to have that heart of serving and serving one another. So I felt like, with that being said, with many of the minds that some of you might have, like, what a mission trip, like, some of you have never gone before, and still are debating, should I go, or those that went for the first time, those that didn't get there for me. Some of you guys can relate to these things that I'm going to share with you. The first thing that I think that why mission trips or short-term mission trips are good, and granted, some people might say short-term mission trip, it's too too short, or it's too much money. And, if you think about it, sometimes raising $2,000, $3,000 for a one-week trip, it's quite pricey. It's quite a money. And people might say, why don't you use that money elsewhere? Why don't you use that money to do something else? So there's always going to be all these things that are going to be the negativism of short-term mission. But I really do believe there are some positives of short-term mission trips. And some of you, like I said, may relate to this. The first thing that I see is that when you go on a short-term mission trip, you have a tremendous amount of impact on the place that you go to. I think for a moment, we just got back from the Philippines, and we've gone to Ecuador many times. Every time that we go, I think one of the things that I see is how much they're so caring for the group that comes. How much out of the way they do things for you, for us. When you think about it, cooking is not a very easy thing. I know we have a cooking system right now, once a week, and I tell you, it's hard. It's hard to come up with the food, for X amount of people, and do that. And luckily, it's good that we only do it once a week, and it rotates, right? But think for a moment that you're hosting someone for a whole week, 7 days, and you're providing breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and not just preparing breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but the finest that you can offer. Like when we went to the Philippines, we can honestly say it was good food. They didn't give us scraps. Scraps. I said scraps. Sorry, I meant to say scraps. Right? They didn't give us scraps, right? But they made it handmade. They made it perfectly with love, and it was delicious and it was good. When we go to Ecuador, every time we go to Ecuador, right? Some of you have been to Ecuador, and some of you who are going to experience Ecuador, man, every morning you wake up to fresh brewed coffee, the coffee that they give you, and the food that they, and there's always enough. There's always enough. You never go out starving. They feed you well. I'm telling you, it is. And for us, we just enjoy it. Oh, this is good food. Wow, this is so great. It's good. But I'm sure in the kitchen, it's tough work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of planning. You got to think about, what to make. It's a lot of difficult things. But I'm sure all of us can testify. We've never seen them complain. We've never seen them say, "Oh man, why are they here? Well, this is too much." What do they do? In fact, what do? They encourage us. They say, "Eat more. This is good." Or, what I'm saying? They are getting affected by us coming. They get impacted. They get encouraged. I'm sorry, every time that we have, like I said, I'm going to use Philippines and Ecuador. When we went to the Philippines, a lot of them says, "Oh, thank you for coming from such a far away." They said, "Thank you." That one lady that we met, "Oh, thank you so much for coming all the way from America just to visit our little island and visit us." When we go to Ecuador, all the staff members and the kids, what do they say? "Oh, thank you so much for coming." And what do we say? We say, "No. You're blessing us. You're the one who blesses us. We're leaving out here encouragement." But the same thing is, they get encouraged too. They get tremendous amount of encouragement when we go on short-term mission trips. Just us being there, taking the time away from our busy schedule here to come and show love to them. It registers to them. It registers not just to them, but throughout the church, throughout the people. Philippines and Ecuador, when we have service, they love it when we do skits and presentations and stuff. And they're more receptive. They're more like, "Wow, this is great," because they're getting encouraged. So the thing is, what better way to go and encourage someone with what? The gospel. That's the whole reason why we go there, don't we? That's the whole reason why we go out there to encourage people. Not because of look at who we are, look at what we can do. No, we go there because we want to share the gospel. We want to share the salvation of Christ. When you and I got saved, the day we got saved, guess what? We're on a mission. When we like to think missions, it's overseas or whatever. What I'm telling you is that mission is right down in the backyard. It's within ourselves. When we accepted Christ as our personal Savior, we immediately become missionary. Right? Our mission is what? To carry out the Great Commission, which is Matthew chapter 28. I preach the good news, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Right? That's our mission. That's what we're called to do. So what better way to go and to do that, to encourage others by sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it's encouragement to see and to know that they will always, and we can see how much they're encouraged when we come back. And we sometimes see on Facebook, and for a while they post all these things and all these pictures, and it's great to see their smiles and things like that. Now, the second thing that I think short-term mission is good, like I mentioned here before, is that it changes you forever. It builds your character. It matures your Christian walk. And what it does is also it impacts you. It impacts your life. And granted that when we go to mission trips and we get that feeling and we come back, we're all kind of, and granted because of the busyness of life again, we kind of fall back into the trap. But there's something that takes place there. I really do believe. And I think I mentioned this to some people, and every time I try to talk to people, I say that we're always on this. It's like we live in like a Lego land. Everything is building blocks. You got to build things up. When you are becoming successful in the business world, you got to work your way up. Right? Everything seems like you have to work your way up. Same thing with Christianity. It's like it's a process. You're striving to become like Christ. Now, obviously, we're never going to become like Christ, but that's our job is to become like Christ, and we strive every day. But how are we going to strive? How are we going to move forward? How are we going to go there? We got to build blocks. We got to build our foundation. We build our foundation. And I remember talking to some people about this. Is that as a Christian life, you go up and you come down. You go up and you come down. That's just the nature of our lives, because we're sinful men, we're sinful women. And we're going to sin, and we're going to fall down, and we're going to come back up. We're going to fall down, but we're going to come back up. But when you fall down, and when you start to pick yourself up, that's where you got to lay that foundation. Right? So the next time you fall, you just fall back to that round foundation that you fell before. And when you fall again, you build that foundation, and then sure enough, you start to lay yourself, and then you start to build these foundations, And if you think about it, if you're thinking underwater, right? Your goal is to be above the water, right? That's our main goal. Because if we're drowning in the underwater, we're gonna sink and die. So our main goal is to always try to be above the water, and that's the life. We have to be above the water. We can never be on top of the water, because that's only Jesus Christ can do that. Jesus Christ is the only one that walks on water. For us, we can just be above the water. We can try to tread above the water. But how are we going to get to that point where we can just tread above the water? Well, we got to lay these foundations underneath the water. And then to build that foundation is to what I'm saying. So go to these mission trips, and then you go and you experience and you find it. Go on to revivals. Go on to different things where you can feel and really grow in the Lord, and to continue to give yourself, these times of learning and growing in the Lord. And that's how you build upon it. And falling is a great way. You've got to fall to learn. You've got to fall on your knees so that you can pray. I think that's a great example, that if you're never on your knees, you'll never learn to pray. Right? When you're on your knees is when you're the most hard times in your life, when you're on your knees. And when you're on your knees, when you got to pray. So you got to experience those things. But that's what I'm saying. When you go to these mission trips, you go and you see these things. You see God working, and it builds these foundations in your life, and it changes you forever, and it makes you get closer to the Lord. That's what I really believe. And you get to see, God and working, and right there before your eyes, the miracles and the wonders. And it's amazing to see that God is not dead. He's still alive, and he's speaking, he's moving, and the only thing is that, are we willing to be on that same wind that God is going in? Or are we going to be standing in the back, right? We got to move. God is moving. He's always moving. That's the thing about us, is that the gospel is still alive. The gospel is alive, right? The gospel that changes people in Ecuador, the gospel that changed people in the Philippines, is the same gospel here in America. But why is it not moving here? Why does it seem like it's dead here? It's because the people don't want to believe that the gospel is real. Or the people here doesn't believe that there's power to the gospel. The gospel has power everywhere it is. But we just got to be on that bandwagon. We got to be on that wagon and say, look, the power of the gospel is still alive. The second thing, the mission that I believe, is that you get to have a chance to share your stories. To share your testimony. I think every time you go to a mission trip, we always come back and have stories. Whether they're funny stories, whether they're touching stories. All the letters that you write for support letters, asking for people money, it's a great way for you to share the gospel. How else are you able to share a family member who doesn't really write? Money. Sometimes if you ask for a support letter, it's a perfect way for you to share the gospel and say, look, uncle, aunt, I'm going to a mission trip here. I'll spread the word of Jesus Christ. I'm sending you a support letter. And then that might be an avenue for your family member to say, who's Jesus? What do you want to share Jesus? The same vice versa, when you come back, you get to share your stories to your family members and the people in the church and say, look, this is what I saw God do. And you share these stories, and the thing is, these stories that we share also encourages us. It encourages us, the church. When we come back, what's the reason why we always have presentation up here? It's to encourage one another. It's to encourage the people of Christ, God's children. They say, look, there's things that are out there that still are happening. And when we see it, we get excited, and we get pumped up, and we get passionate. And it kind of stirs something in our heart. And that's what the reason why we do. We go to these mission trips to come back to share these stories. And to let us know that, hey, there's great things. And like I said, some of these stories might be funny. And we can share that too. I'll share it too. When we went to the Philippines, a funny story. We all talk about Eric slipping, almost in his whole, body weight. And I'll share you a story that I still talk about today. It happened in 1999. Anybody here born in 1999? Or anybody here born before 1999? You guys are 80s, right? Yeah. Okay, sorry. Well, I went to mission. My first mission trip was 1999. I went to China, and it was awesome. And whenever we meet with our China team, and there's like 12 of us. Every once in a while we get together and talk, and the story still comes up. And even though 20 years ago, the story that we still talk about is what happened in 1999. I'm going to share that story to you. One of our leaders who took us to China, Pastor Moon, right? Some of you guys know that when you go to Israel, it's hard to take a shower. So we were at the last day of our China trip. We were treated, I call treated, to bathhouse. It was the most glorious thing ever. Everybody know Asian bathhouses, like you go in the shower to men separately, right? Men and women. But you go in there naked. You have to be naked, right? I guess you don't have to, but you get more stares wearing shorts if you're not naked. If you're naked, nobody's there. But we had one guy in our. It's so funny. We had one guy who was wearing bathing suit in the bathhouse. We're like, man, you gotta get that off. You gotta be naked. Like, no, I don't want to. And the guy who was working in the bathhouse was screaming at him, take your bathing suit off. But he was like, no. But our leader, Pastor Moon, in these Asian bathhouses, they have I don't know what you call it in English. I'm just going to epidermis scrubber. Epidermis scrubber. I'm just going to call it epidermis scrubber.
You mean like exfoliator?
Huh?
Like an exfoliating scrub thing?
Yeah. So there's guys that actually are paid to scrub your epidermis. Right? So some of you are not Asian, this is very foreign to you, I'm sorry. But they scrub you everywhere. There's no shame. It's scrubbed everywhere. Well, our leader was getting himself scrubbed. Throughout the whole bathhouse, you hear him, oh. So that's not the funny part though. So the thing is, we're getting embarrassed. So we went out, we left the place, and then we got all ready. We're all in the same, and when you go in the bathhouses, they have all these lockers, right? And we went in, we were all in the same area, and we all got our clothes on, we were all dressed up, and then we were all in the corner just sitting down, waiting for our leader to come out. And our pastor, he comes out, and he's drying his hair, and he's walking over to the locker. And see, the thing is, we already left, we were already in the corner. He came over, and there's another guy that came in, and he came in. There was a big guy, and he was bending over, and he was naked. He was like bending over. And I thought he thought it was me. Or one of the other guys, a guy that came with us, he was big too. He thought it was, like a perfect chance. And so he was like drying his hair and he saw this big butt. And he was like, like I said, it's naked. He's like, what are you doing? He said, bah! He took a full swing and he smacked so hard. It was so loud that all of us there in the corner, we all turned around and what the? It was so hard that there was a handprint on the guy's left cheek. Oh my goodness, it was so red. The funny thing is the priceless thing with the guy's face. He was a Chinese man. He was like, he went, oh! We were thinking, should we go help him? We're like, no, man, let's just enjoy this moment. So we're sitting in the corner and just watching him trying to explain his way out of it. Oh man, literally that guy. I think the thing is, when he got slapped, it's natural reaction. He came up with his fist. I thought they were going to get into a fight. But it's funny story. But like I said, it's one of those things that you share memories with, and then when you meet someone, and then you talk about it, we talk about these things, and it leads into these other, oh man, do you remember when you were at the orphanage and you did this, and you remember when we went to the Philippines and when we saw all the kids get up and wanted to see and know Jesus Christ and wanted to give their lives to Christ. You see, there's so many stories, there's so many testimonies that can generate when you go onto the short-term mission trip. And it's healthy, and it's good for you to be able to every once in a while to share these stories. Because let's face it, when we live here, everything is repetitive. Everything is the same thing over and over and over and over again. And I bet you many of you wake up every morning and say, I wish things were different. I wish many of you would wake up and say, I wish something would go on, something would happen. We'd be wanting these things to happen. Well, I think short-term mission trips gives you the opportunity to experience something different. Not only that, but we get to share these stories, of how great God is. I can't share enough. I was telling this to the church this morning. I was kind of proud of our church. You know, and as a pastor at Crossover, I'm proud of our church. I'm proud that God will give us enough of these miracles in our churches to see with our own eyes. You know, I'm sure they haven't seen this before in their churches. And it's one of those things where I'm kind of like, I hate to say this, but I'm crying. I'm like, oh, this is awesome, man. You know, God loves our church so much. God loves our mission so much that He comes through every single time. And I was sharing the stories. I was sharing all the miracles things that happened. Like you know, in 2008, when our first mission trip ever to Ecuador, when a guy donated $6,000 for the car wash. When the following year after, one of our members gave $4,000. The following year after that, another member gave $5,000. And you know, just because the numbers might be kind of big, but see, the value of the money, the amount of money is not what is counted. It's what is being done behind that. It's like God is convicting people. God is convicting those who are sitting here and those that are out there that we don't even know to say, look, I'm going to give. I want you to give to my cause, my kingdom, my purpose. And He uses people, you know, to come. And it's almost like, I feel like it's like almost like mesmerizing. It's like one of those things like, you're like, okay, God, and then you write this amount of check and you give it to them. You know, I'm just saying this for fun. Most people come back the next day, like, what did I just do? Hopefully you don't normally think that. But you know, I'm sure most of you that gave are like, man, God, this is for you. And that's the way it should be, from your heart. And God uses that heart and for people and convicts people to give. And then, you know, I'm sure there's blessings that follows afterwards. You know, and like I said, just like yesterday too. You know, although the money is a little shorter, but it's crazy that on Friday I posted and saying, let's pray for $500 because that's what we need to fill our budget for Ecuador. And then we come to yard sale yesterday, in the first crew, the morning crew, made $300. And then in the afternoon, when we were about to close, when things were getting kind of died out, somebody decides to come and buy the whole thing for like $107. And on top of that, some more people donated and stuff. And we ended up getting $505. Right? God provided. God said, you need $500? I'm going to give it to you. $505. God always, if you look at all this history, if you look at throughout all the years that we needed to raise money, right? The first year, when the God gave us $6,000, that's how much short we were, about $6,000. The next year, when we were about like $4,000 or $5,000 short, that's what God provided. You see, God never gives us more. He never gives us less. He always gives you just the right amount. Why? Because when He gives us just the right amount, our words can say, thank you, Lord. We don't need you. When we think about it, if God gave us less, we'd go, oh man, we kind of have this empty feeling maybe. If God gave us a lot more, we'd be like, oh, we're going to be prideful. I knew God was doing that much. But when God gives you just the right amount, when you're praying for that amount and He gives it, you're just like, wow! He gave us just enough. And I feel like we praise God more. But God gave us just the right amount. You see, when we prepare for short mission trips, you know, when we do these things, we get to share these stories with people. You get to say, hey, I was on a mission team that would do that, and we saw great things from the Lord. And the short-term mission trip teaches us to pray. You know, I'm sure many of you who've gone to mission trips, you know, your prayer life has been kind of stagnant. Well, I'm sure that, you know, knowing that you're going on a mission trip, it helps you to pray a little more. You know, hopefully you're praying for your health, for your safety, for all the things that are associated with going on a mission trip. And it teaches you to pray for, you know, saying, Lord, help me provide for my finances. And you know, when you're raising money, you pray to God, saying, Lord, I need these things so that I can go. And then you pray more than you usually do. How we do the short-term mission trips helps us to pray a lot more. And then lastly, I think that short-term missions helps us to discover ourselves. You know, I think a lot of people go to short-term missions and, you know, we kind of wonder what God's going to show us. And when we get there, we, you know, sometimes see others. Wow, how did I know about that person? Well, wow, I didn't know that she had that qualities. Well, wow. And maybe you're your own self when you go and you work with children. I think the best thing that I can remember is Daniel Chung. Before he first went to Ecuador, I hate kids. I still remember to this day, he's like, I hate kids, man. They're so annoying. If we get to Ecuador, you know, He's like one of the most popular guys, man. All the kids like all over him, and on top of him. And he was like, I saw him, man. He was working with kids, and he learned to be with the kids, and and his love for the kids. I think he had a love, he grew a love for the kids. But guess what? Now he has his own kid. I'm sure, and I'm sure that he loves his kid, and I'm sure that all those things that he learned back in the day, help him to be more, hopefully a more loving father. Okay. But, I think short-term mission experiences help one uncover hidden areas of strength and weaknesses. And that we, like I said, another one, facing the Philippines, Luigi is very quiet. Around here, he's quiet. In the Philippines, man, he was rocking it, man. He was talking, he was getting along with the kids, and just different things that you see that we were so used to seeing here that when you go over there, it just something happens. It comes out, and you start seeing their strength, and you start seeing their weaknesses and things like that. But sometimes it won't happen if you don't take that chance and go on a short-term relationship. And I close with this. I saw this on the statistics, and hopefully this will kind of give you encouragement. But the George Barna made a statistics about short-term missions, and this is what he came up with. Who takes short-term mission trips? He says, this is staggering. He says only 9% of American adults go on short-term missions. Only 3.5 American adults went in the last 5 years. In America, only 3.5% of people went to this trip after 5 years. In the last 5 years, they haven't gone. So many people go on the first mission trip and they don't go. And it kind of just, vanishes away. Out of those statistics, 11% people that go to mission trips are churchgoers. So people that are in church, they go. 23% of them are evangelical Christians. 12% are in the ages of 18 to 24. So that's when they do the statistics, ages from 18 to 24 were the most people that would say, I'm going on a short-term mission trip. Only 9% were from the ages of 25 to 43. Only 7% were from 44 to 62. And only 9% were 63 years old and older. So it dropped dramatically when you get older. Hopefully when I'm 60 years old, I can still go on mission trips. When I'm 70, I still hope I can go. I think it's something special when you see older men or older women go on mission trips. I think one of the things that opened my eyes, I think Matt and Daniel came, were the ones that we went to Mexico, and we had several older guys that came with us, and one of them had a really bad back. And I remember, he was kind of older and had a bad back, and one of the main things that we had to do in that mission trip was pure hard labor. I mean, it was almost like Philippines when we had to do cement, but it was a little worse because we had to do actual lifting. It was like almost torture. It was torture. It was so hard. It was hot. But I remember this old man, one of the deacons at the church, bad back, had a belt. Man, he was shoveling, and he was shoveling, putting those rocks into those buckets, the sand in the bucket. And he was like, older guy, and we were like, hey, slow down, your back is hurting. And no, I love doing this. I love serving. I love doing this for the Lord. And I remember him saying that. That's awesome. There's something special when older men go. It gives you an encouragement. So I'm just saying that so when you guys get older, 60 or 70 years old, I'll probably be in heaven by then. I'll be up in heaven looking down you guys. And hopefully you guys will do some good stuff when you're older. So here goes. How does short-term mission trips affect those who go? This is his statistics. Look at this. 75% who go on short-term mission say that the experience changed their life in some way. That's a high number. 75% say that when they go to a mission trip, it changed them in some way. 25% say that it helped them become more aware of people's struggles. 16% say it taught them more about poverty, justice, and the world. 11% say it increased their compassion. 9% said it enriched their faith. 9% said it broadened their spiritual understanding. And 5% said it boosted their financial generosity. Those are some statistics about short-term mission. And this is our last mission trip that we are going this year. And then as soon as we get back, as soon as fall comes around, we'll start praying again for another year in the Philippines and another year in Ecuador. For those who haven't had the chance, those that wanted to go but couldn't make it next year, make it your goal, make it your prayer that you can come and share the great things that God is doing through our church and through other churches around the world. With that being said, I just want to invite the Ecuador mission team up here right now real quickly. I know not everybody's all here, but can you guys come up here and start real quickly so that we can pray for you? So that I want the church to pray for us, and not just us, Ecuador team, but I know the week after, while we're still gone, I know Peter and Tiffany are also going to Spain on their mission trip. And the thing is, if you ever had a chance to go on mission trips, it doesn't have to always be with our church. It's good to just go out and experience. So Peter, when you come up here too, and also keep in prayer for Tiffany as they go on to Spain the week after we leave. But also here, that's not here today, is pray for Liz, Nancy, Kelly, and Daniel Lee. They're not here for other circumstances, but this is our team. So just can you just take a couple of minutes right now just to pray for this team and for myself, and then can you just close us? Can you close the Ecuador team?
pray ultimately that we would just be your hands and feet, that all sense of himself, all sense of possible, all that, we just shield and preserve them, just be servants. So God, prepare their hearts, prepare their finances, prepare everything, Lord, prepare their way. Pray and rebuke this disease, just all the things that can happen, all the concerns, all the worries, God. Because we know you're in full control. So I pray for the Ecuador mission team as they go out and just serve you and serve more people, your children, Lord. Just pray that they would just not hold back and they would serve wholeheartedly, God. There's people who are going for the first time, people who are there. I just pray ultimately, Lord, that we would just serve and love on Ecuador and just that church and Presbyterian. I pray that they really just travel mercies on the way there, all the way back. And we pray just your blessings to be poured out abundantly, God. So, Lord, just make you just truly be present, Lord, and just keep you safe. And just, at times when we're struggling, Lord, I pray that you would be there, Lord.
I'll go ahead and close it.